welcome to ElitMind podcast, ElitTalk. ElitTalk is a breakthrough technology, AI and ML, data and cloud-oriented podcast created by top experts in the field of MDW solutions and analytics. Together with our guests, we present the newest updates in leading technology vendors.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of ElitTalk. I'm Andrzej Ermel, your host, lead of consulting at ElitMind, and with me we have Paweł Potasiński, Senior Program Manager at Microsoft. Hello, Paweł.
Hello, Andrzej. Hello, everyone.
Today we'll be making quite an important update on Microsoft Fabric because a lot has happened since the last time we had the opportunity to talk. And our discussion will separate, let's say, in the three main blocks. First of all, we will be talking about, let's say, strategic initiatives that had happened and that maybe, in my opinion, certifies Fabric as a mature or production-ready environment. And Paweł, as we know, we had general availability of Fabric. Can you a little bit explain what does it really means?
Yes. So in November last year, we had, in fact, the announcement of Fabric being generally available, which means that customers may purchase Fabric via Azure or M365 subscriptions. So they can purchase capacities and start using Fabric in production. That also means that the product itself has SLA on it. So whenever you face any downtimes, you are eligible as a customer to get some money back from Microsoft. Hopefully we'll be able to keep the resilience of the service as close to 100 as possible, 100%. But the SLA for Fabric is very actually it's pretty much the same as for Power BI. Mm-hmm. So 3 nines is the starting threshold for being capable for some returns. But again, hopefully the service is most of the times available for customers in really many regions. We cover lots of Azure regions, including the most popular regions in Europe. So absolutely, it's time to start thinking about production deployments.
Exactly, and you can also think about the Fabric as a subset of Power BI. So if you are satisfied with the stability of Power BI service, you can assume basically the same for Fabric.
Yes, as probably many people listening to us know, Fabric actually was built on foundation of Power BI, so it uses the same user interface, but also pretty much the same architecture behind the scenes. If you're satisfied with Power BI, especially Power BI premium deployments, then Fabric is something you should consider if you want to make your analytics landscape easier to manage, because that means you will have all the capabilities that are below the reporting and semantic modeling line in your architecture included in a single platform. That's the purpose of Fabric.
One more important, maybe a bit technical information is that it's something that I was waiting in Q1 for that currently Fabric also supports private endpoints at the tenant level.
Right now it's on the workspace level. The tenant level is coming. It's on the roadmap as well. It shouldn't be that far from being available for customers. So right now you can test private endpoints on the workspace level.
Okay.
So workspace administrators may set up private endpoints that allow you to connect to things like storages, databases in Azure, etc.
So previously we had a situation that, let's say, from the enterprise point of view, Fabric was more targeted at, let's say, experimenting or analytics related to your more or less publicly available data. right now we can get into the serious stuff with the security
Yes,
intact.
in general, I would say that remember that general availability doesn't mean that Fabric includes every single feature that you as a customer may imagine or would like Fabric to have. It's pretty much the same as with Power BI. We started with some set of capabilities being available from the first moment when we announced the product being generally available. But in fact, you may expect us to bring more and more features every single month. So the product life cycle is very, very intense. Every single month we produce a batch of improvements and new features. So keep an eye on the Fabric updates blog to keep tracking features that arrive to the product, basically.
Mm-hmm. And going also along the line of let's say enterprise availability or reaching the enterprise level of maturity, we also had several improvements in terms of data governance. There is a public preview of Purview Hub for Fabric. So if you could describe it a little bit, and I will also give my perspective how to approach this. Purview for Fabric, Purview Hub.
Yeah, so actually if you look at the roadmap for administration and governance, Purview is at the center of everything. So you will see more and more improvements from us in terms of how we integrate things with Purview. Right now, I think that still this integration is not as probably most of our customers would expect, but we are doing steps towards making it available. So right now, even with free tier of Purview, we are able to quickly go and list your items that are available in Fabric tenants. I would say that's a very basic functionality. Still, it's a good beginning. Also, you have from the moment we released the product in public preview, there is Purview Hub that allows you to keep an eye on what's going on in your tenant from, let's say, more or less governance perspective. Again, this is not the final step. We are many steps ahead, and if you look at the roadmap for admin and governance, you will see lots of different stuff for integration. Let me just mention a couple of things. So, for example, there's gonna be support for sensitivity labels. It's in place, right? So again, as just like with Power BI. You have sensitivity labels that are inherited from Fabric items to whatever you do with data. So if you decide to export things to Excel, those labels are visible in Excel. If you build reports or semantic models on top of let's say confidential lakehouse, this is gonna be inherited as well. So what else is coming? Just see. Data prevention policies for data in OneLake. This is also something that is on the roadmap for next quarter of this calendar year.
From my perspective, you should treat it as some kind of a gateway, and this is the level of maturity, in my opinion, so that you have basic functionalities that will be growing. If you require, let's say, more mature data governance capabilities, then of course you have Microsoft Purview itself as a service. So you have already, let's say, two levels of advancements depending on where you are with your data governance requirements. There is one very specific, also quite important from my perspective, feature, which is information protection in relation to Power BI files. What does it mean? It means that if you have a developer who works or builds Power BI reports on top of sensitive data, on the data sets that are underlined by information protection capabilities, these information protection capabilities with the access to this data will travel along this Power BI file of the report. So even if he downloads this on his computer to make some adjustments, these data are still protected. And since we are talking about getting to the enterprise level, what is also important, I think, is that Microsoft already published the adoption roadmap for Fabric in your organization. So, of course, as most of you probably know, the typical story of implementing the solution is gathering the requirements, then building the solution itself, testing, deployment, but the tricky part is also how to navigate the organization in order to adopt this change. And right now we have quite nice set of standards that you can follow proposed by Microsoft.
Yeah, just one thing came to my mind, getting back to security stuff. We mentioned private endpoints, right?
Mm-hmm.
Private endpoints, you set up those on the workspace level, but also we have some other features for security announced in Fabric recently. So first of all, for the same purpose as you have those private endpoints, so outbound communication, you have also trusted workspace access. That
Mm-hmm.
means you can actually you can build some rules for accessing, for example, storages behind firewalls for Fabric workspaces. And also we have private links for the whole tenant, which is for inbound communication. So you can establish a Fabric tenant in a way that you will be able to access this tenant only from your internal networks, for example, using some VMs using Bastion, etc. So again, this is a serious step towards meeting requirements of customers with strong regulations in terms of security and compliance.
Mm-hmm. And one, let's say, last aspect or dimension of getting serious with the Fabric is that we have a new level of certification.
Yeah.
Actually,
certification has double meaning, right? Because one, you can consider certification as people can get certified in Fabric, but also we have certifications for Fabric itself when it comes to regulations and being in line with some regulations, local and global regulations. One of the recent certifications for Fabric, not for people, was the one related with healthcare, so HIPAA, as far as I remember. But I guess you refer to certification.
I also refer for people, for
yeah.
Professionals.
So yeah, we do have certification for Fabric. It actually went from beta phase recently. The exam is actually called DP600, and it covers, I would say, pretty much whole platform, maybe except several workloads like real-time analytics and data science. But if you focus on classic analytics, BI stuff, lake houses and warehouses, this exam covers this landscape, right?
Mm-hmm. And congratulations, because you passed already.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out how much effort it costs, and I can tell that it's not the simplest, the easiest exam to pass. It requires quite a significant knowledge on not just the product itself, but also data modeling and how to build architecture for analytics, basically.
Yeah, our consultants in ElitMind already also passed, and the experience is the same, and the feeling is shared that this is not an easy exam to
congratulations
to pass.
To my colleagues at ElitMind. This is really not an easy exam to pass.
Okay, so those are, let's say, those big multi-dimensional aspects, but the whole idea of Fabric is to, let's say, empower a bigger audience. We had a mission with Power BI to enable self-service, to empower business users on, let's say, more front-end analytical part of the whole puzzle, but today we live in the era of AI and Microsoft Fabric, and we are starting to be more interested in empowering also the backend solutions. So we have this mighty Copilot solutions. What is interesting, not one, but multiple of Copilots. So first of all, I think the most important information is that in 2023, this was a limited access functionality for most of the people who were trying the Fabric and were playing around. Right now, it's available in public preview for everyone.
Yes.
But there is a condition, right? There is the condition that the capacity that Copilot operates on is starting from F64 capacity.
Yes, F64. So the, let's say, corresponding capacity to Power BI Premium P1 is the one that you need to work with Copilot. Well, let's be honest. Copilot is not free when it comes to compute power. So running your prompts and getting responses from LLM models, it is something that requires some significant power. So that's why F64 is the entry level, as well as historically in Power BI Premium was this level of Power BI where you got some advanced capabilities. So this is pretty much the same.
So okay, let's break down those Copilots, because I think we at least have 4, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe even more.
So in documentation you will find 3 of them. Copilot for Power BI was the first one we announced. Actually, it was announced together with the product and available as general available.
Yes.
Then we also announced the one for data science and data engineering, so specifically for notebook development. And the third one is Copilot for Data Factory, so you can use it, for example, to build your data flows generation tool. But also, I believe that very soon, or I'm not sure if it's not even now available in the product. You will find out a Copilot for KQL databases, so development of KQL code over your real-time data. And of course, as you may imagine, you may expect also Copilot for SQL developers working with warehouses pretty soon.
So how does these Copilots are gonna help us from our perspective?
So to answer one of the most popular questions, it will not replace developers for sure, but it can significantly improve the speed of development, because it can suggest code. It can actually reply to your natural language questions. Like, for example, imagine you work with a lakehouse. You have some data already in the lakehouse, and you want to effectively run some exploratory analytics with Notebook. You just ask a question like, Hey Copilot, help me building some analytics on top of data that sits in a set of files in my lakehouse, or a table in my lakehouse. And you may even specify which language is of your preference, because as we know, notebooks can operate with not just PySpark but also SQL and other languages. So you may quickly move. I tested my preferred scenario when I load data to data frames and then quickly switch to SQL, so temporary views or tables, and then play with SQL to analyze data, and it works pretty well. So this is something for notebooks. For Power BI, you have several different features that are actually implemented and which can be done using Copilot. It may be smart narratives, so descriptions of your existing reports. It may be also drafting your let's say report or report pages even, so suggesting the layout, etc. It may be also descriptions for your measures written in DAX. So I believe those are scenarios that I don't believe that interferes anyhow with responsibilities of people working in Fabric, but at the same time it may be a good fulfillment of our everyday job. Right?
It's efficiency improvement,
Yes.
it's quality improvement.
Yes.
We especially like those measure descriptions because this is something that is a good practice, but maybe not always the most fascinating thing to do, but it needs to be done, and it is quite well delivered by those functionalities. As well as I really recommend trying at least the layouts for Power BI, because it's a very good starting point in order to map your solution.
Just to tell you, you don't have to purchase F64 capacity forever. You can spin up F64 in Azure if you have Azure subscription, or you even started your trial subscription or free tier of Azure. You can spin up F64 for an hour or two and just play with Copilot if you want to try it out. So again, it does not require purchasing for production. You can start your F64 and then stop when you're done with your tests. Basically, that's my recommendation.
And also, please be responsible with what you are producing with Copilots, because there are some risks.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would say the best way to find out about some, let's say, regulations or maybe terms and conditions for Copilot is to run Copilot for Fabric notebooks, because it will produce in a notebook. The first step it does is it produces PySpark code which imports some libraries, but also it puts some description of how Copilot works and what you might expect, and also what you need to be aware of. So. What kind of data you share with Microsoft? So this is something that you probably should read before you start
and be aware of that. I really would like also to discuss some integration features with you, because these are again in my line of thinking that we are reaching quite an interesting capabilities. From the start, the one that I really think many of customers and developers can exploit is Dataverse shortcuts.
Yes.
This is quite. Let's elaborate maybe a little bit on what really does it mean.
So in short, it means that you may quickly build in Fabric something like you could do with Synapse. So Synapse Link for Dataverse basically was very similar feature. So you can access Dataverse data, just like you can right now access data that sits in classical storages like Azure Data Lake Storage Generation 2 or S3 buckets, just by creating a shortcut. That means you are not copying data from Dataverse, but you run queries on top of Dataverse tables. So again, this is a great feature because it means that you can immediately bring your Power Platform or Dynamics 365 data to Fabric for analytics purposes. This may be a part of your bronze layer, shortcut to Dataverse, and then you can proceed with building your medallion architecture, silver and gold layer, serving data, etc.
Yeah, we are removing the friction of integrating, especially Dynamics, right? Because this is very, very typical scenario that you have some version of Dynamics 365 or some module of Dynamics within your organization already. And there was also always a difficult work to integrate this data for analytical purposes in order to join it with different domains of the data that you already have in your analytical warehouse or data lake. Right now, this is really, really simplified, especially due to the fact that you do not need to copy the data. But also those people who are interested in doing the development on top of that, especially with Power Apps, can make circles, let's say, go extract or work with some data from Dynamics within the Fabric, do some analytics based on this analytics, come back to the Dynamics and so on. So there are really quite a quite a big family of possibilities here that are much easier to do than before.
Yeah, I believe it opens a whole bunch of possibilities for people who work with Dynamics 365 and also Power Platform applications, doing Power Apps, etc. That may be really useful. I can only tell that my team is extensively using this shortcut to Dataverse because we run several Power Apps for different purposes and it works very well.
One more, another one that is quite an interesting, maybe especially from my perspective as a retired data scientist, is that you introduced the semantic link. Semantic link is basically a direct connectivity between a data science compute environments and the data within Power BI datasets, because right now Power BI datasets were rebranded as semantic models, so this is from where the semantic word is coming, and this is quite interesting. There is a common misconception, and I don't know why, that data scientists always want to work on the raw, dirty data, and this is simply not true very often. Sometimes it's true, but most often than not, most data scientists want to work on the data that already represents your business as close as possible. And the best data that represents the business are the data in semantic model, because they are used for reporting. Anything else from your point of view here that is?
Yeah, semantic model, semantic link is actually a bit more than just connection between the world of, let's say, business layer of Power BI or Fabric and data science workloads, because it enables different scenarios also for Power BI developers. To give some examples, you can effectively query data from notebooks. So actually, you can incorporate data coming from semantic model with data that comes to your lakehouses or warehouses together, and do some cross analytics using all your data that sits in different layers of Fabric. You can run DAX queries, you can run SQL queries on top of semantic models, surprisingly, but also you can run metadata queries, which allow you to run lots of diagnostics from learning about the metadata of your models, documenting those metadata, like for example relationships or how specific columns are correlated with each other. You can also refresh models if needed. And you can run, for example, diagnostics around direct lake mode if you use it. So, for example, you can easily find out about the temperature of columns, how many columns from your specific tables are imported into memory via direct lake connections.
Yeah, because maybe it's important to mention that semantic link allows you to not only see the data itself, but also all the metadata around this, the measures and so on and so forth, what was created within the Power BI itself. And automation possibilities, again, even from administrative perspective, are quite surprising.
Yeah, but the first idea, of course, was, as you mentioned, connection between data science and business layer of serving layer of Fabric.
One last part regarding the integration that was also very I think it's important to mention this, because this is, let's say, quite impactful on the general architecture of your analytics landscape, is that right now we have multi-cloud connectivity. So both connectors from, and correct me if I'm wrong, from the perspective of data flows, but as well as from the shortcuts perspective, we can make a direct connection to Amazon S3 buckets and Google Cloud storages.
Google Cloud, I believe, is still in private preview, but it's coming. We announced that it's everywhere on the slides or diagrams, but now it's about S3 and S3 compatible sources, because we quickly found out from customers that it's not just about purely AWS, but also storages that are compatible with S3 protocols. So we have both right now available for public preview.
Yeah, so it's again getting to this maturity of the clients who are multi-cloud. Quick example is very often I'm waiting for this Google Cloud Storage because many customers who are focused on the marketing initiatives are entrenched in a Google ecosystem.
So I think it's a matter of weeks rather than months when it comes to Google, because on the public roadmap it's we said that it's gonna be Q1 2024, so this quarter.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll see very soon.
So finger crossed.
From integration perspective, also keep in mind we announced also the feature called mirroring. So that makes integration of data sitting in databases like Azure SQL, but also Snowflake or Cosmos DB, as easy as configuration of shortcuts. They are not shortcuts. I mean, mirroring is not shortcut because it means replication of data. Let's say almost in real time. It's not real time, but the latency is, let's say, a few seconds up to 1 minute. So again, this is great for keeping all your data landscape for in one place when it comes to analytics.
Yeah, and data meshes with central hub as a fabric is right now becoming a reality.
Yeah. So when it comes to data mesh, this is absolutely something that we are chasing for. So we wanted first of all to make implementations of this data mesh model as easy as possible. So the first step was deployment of domains. So now you can delegate responsibilities from tenant level to domain level, group your workspaces, and make them manageable by specific administrators, specific teams or business units. Also, keep in mind that folders are coming, so that will make management over your Fabric items even more. I would say. Easier than it is right now, because right now the structure of specific workspaces it's a flat view, right? So you see all your items and you can maybe filter, but again it's not that easy to manage. With folders it should be easier.
And we also have set quite a few chosen by us for this podcast, quite a few important technical features from the perspective maybe of the developers. So going a little bit deeper, the Power BI visual-based calculations became a fact.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is we may laugh and we may have different opinions on that, but it's. Let's be honest. DAX is hard for people.
So let's explain maybe what it is.
So visual calculations. I think this is a great moment to give kudos to Jay, who worked hard on this and made it publicly available. So it's basically about simplifying your DAX by applying formulas on the visual level. So when you have a chart, let's say column chart, you can apply. You can use DAX simplified statements in DAX, or even new functions that make several calculations like rolling averages or running totals easier to implement on a visual level. So it should be easier for people to write this piece of code. You see immediately the result on the visual. So this is the beauty. Well, there of course may be some caveats as we think about data engineers, because that means you store some pieces of code on the visual level, so it's not integrated in the whole semantic model as we know it. And that may be a blocker for especially enterprise deployments. Whenever there is a central team that needs to manage everything that happens in semantic models. But again, this feature was created for the purpose of self-service BI rather than anything else.
It was generally it was sometimes very hard, especially if the model, the semantic model itself was getting complex, that you want to have some simple calculation on top of one of your graph, and now you had to deep dive into the whole model how to generalize.
Let's be honest. This is still a pretty useful technique to implement specific DAX measures only for the purpose of how you visualize data, right? We still have lots of moments in Power BI where you need to use some workaround in DAX to display data in a way that your customer requires. So it's not that new, but again, those measures we created were still a part of semantic models, while here we have again some code attached to visuals, right?
From the management perspective of this, I think that the message needs to be very clear. Use the certification of your data sets for something that is available for big group of people when you are publishing your data sets, and take care of that, but let people do their own reports as simple as possible.
Certification should make data discovery easier. So people, the agreement between the groups that are managing the tenant and what sits in Fabric and the business users should be that certification or promotion, whatever you use in your tenant, should mean something very specific to the user. That, for example, certified semantic model means this is a semantic model that contains curated data from our lakehouses, warehouses, and you don't have to play with data quality stuff. Rather, focus on analytics than anything else, right?
Yes, and if you have some official KPIs, keep them on the semantic level.
But here we are stepping into this soft part of Fabric development and deployments, which means adoption, right?
Adoption, yes.
So again, if you are familiar with Power BI adoption framework, we have something similar for Fabric right now. It's called Fabric Adoption Roadmap. There is an extensive documentation that allows organization to ask the right questions about how you manage your data and items in Fabric, and how to set up processes and organization structure around building your data culture with Fabric.
Yeah, and not making a mess out of those items,
Fabric,
of course. Fabric, a new buzzword. There is also a very important feature that is Event Stream real-time analytics, and you even told me about Event House. So maybe let's connect those two, and let's start with explaining what we are talking about.
Absolutely. So if you look at event streams, it's actually you can treat this item as a hub for your streaming data. Or let's say something that passes streaming data from sources to destinations in Fabric, which means typically KQL databases as a first choice database for real-time data, but also you can land data in batches in your lakehouse, right? So you have plenty of choices there. Event streams, in general, it can consume streaming data from a variety of sources like event hubs, IoT hubs, Kafka streams. It can even provide a kind of event hub endpoint if you don't have any event hub in place. So your application can send data directly to event stream if needed, right? So it can also present data outside of Fabric. So plenty of opportunities. So it can be a kind of proxy between Fabric and some external consumers of data, not necessarily lakehouses or KQL databases. When it comes to Event House, it's pretty new. I haven't had a chance to play with this extensively, but as I understand this item, it's basically a hub for your KQL databases, event streams, and everything that is related to real-time analytics. And you can centralize the way you manage all those artifacts, items, and how you set up your compute power for real-time analytics.
So we both have the capability and again some capability to deal with the streaming data, but along the way comes management and part
There are many more features coming to Fabric real-time analytics. So if you're in real-time analytics, if that's your interest, keep an eye on our announcements. I think soon something should show up that will be quite disruptive. I can't tell more.
Okay. I hope in a week or so you have some conference.
Well, yeah, we have Fabric conference on the way. I also keep in mind that Build is on the way in May. So I guess those two conferences may provide lots of new disruptive features.
Can't wait. We'll see. Okay, from the developer's point of view, there are also quite, let's say, cross-integration capabilities. Databricks activity in pipelines is one that comes to my mind. So this is a very interesting part, because one of our architectures that we think through a lot in ElitMind is a very big lake on the Databricks, with the Databricks, and self-service part on the Fabric. This is something that we also are experimenting a lot on, and this is quite helpful, because it basically, if I understand correctly, means that within the Fabric pipelines I can engage the power of Databricks.
You can engage. You can actually run your workbooks from Databricks workspaces in Fabric as a part of general orchestration in Data Factory in Fabric. So you can refer to your specific Databricks workspace, specific workbooks. Also specify clusters that you will be using on the Databricks side for compute. So I would say it's full-featured activity in Data Factory.
So we're really getting heavy integration.
Yeah, there is an interoperability between Databricks and Fabric. When we are talking about Databricks, I think most customers right now are looking forward to having integration between Fabric and Unity Catalog in terms of data access and policies that describe security features rather than just metadata. So we're working on that. I have no estimated time for arrival, but this will show up in Fabric as well.
Sure. You also mentioned to me before the podcast, maybe a little bit also in relation to the real-time stuff that we were talking about KQL notebook integration.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, of course. So in general, KQL database, if you want to integrate this real-time or observational analytics part of Fabric with your lakehouse and warehouse part, right now, so far it was actually based on the need to create a shortcut to KQL database, which is not that simple because you need to set up several things, including storing your KQL tables in one lake. So with this integration with notebooks, you can go to KQL database, quickly spin up a new notebook with some predefined code that allow you to quickly query your KQL database with KQL, SQL, whatever your preference is, and incorporate this data in Spark data frames, for example, so you can easily play with, connect those two worlds, real-time analytics and your just analytics, right?
Wow! So we have so basically we went through a lot of informations.
Yeah.
I don't know if you share this feeling with me, Paweł, but I remember the times when Power BI was going, especially in the middle of the development at a very rapid pace of innovation and adding new features.
Yes.
And I get the feeling that we are here in the similar situation.
Yes, absolutely. I think. I mean, we just scratched the surface today with listing some of the features. Some of my favorite features are still to be mentioned. Like, for example, we work heavily on improving APIs for Fabric. To give some example, right now you can already use API to create shortcuts, which is a big relief from the even CI/CD perspective, because you can have notebooks that have full control over your shortcuts in different environments, for example. So again, the pace of innovation is very close to Power BI, but now we have 7 different experiences instead just of just
Yes.
one. Right?
From your perspective, what is your advice how to not get lost in this race?
So first of all, keep an eye on aka.ms/Fabric roadmap. This is a public roadmap for Fabric. It evolves. It's not like we are just updating it like once per semester or once per quarter. You may see it changing over time. So we announce features that we publicly shared with the public audience, and we also keep tracking of release dates, right? And we mark things as shipped, etc. So that's one. Second, keep an eye on monthly announcements at Fabric Updates blog. So absolutely, you should add this monthly updates blog post to your favorites and just visit the blog monthly. It contains also Power BI updates, so you don't have to visit 2 places, Power BI and Fabric blog, because everything is just in one place. And well, some findings come from community. I mean, community is super active. Sometimes it is quicker to find out from some blog posts from community leaders rather than Microsoft announcements, because some features may land silently in the product, in the service, and we just announce it later on, but they exist for like 2 weeks or so in the service, so you may explore it on your own. So play with Fabric, basically. That's my advice to discover features that you haven't seen before.
All right. I think we had quite a big density of information per minute. I really recommend the community. Community is really active right now. Multiple MVPs are constantly writing articles about what's happening.
Fabric user groups. So you can also go to the Fabric community site where the user groups around the world are listed in one place. You will find also some user groups in Poland as well.
And we will have several meetings even this year, and I think we will see each other in May, so stay tuned. This is really an exciting time right now. The race is on and the pace of innovation is crazy. Copilots are arriving everywhere, but as you said, probably they will not take our job, but we'll be getting more and more effective and efficient with this development.
Yeah,
so
this is the right time to jump on the boat. If you're with Microsoft technologies for some time, absolutely Fabric is something you need to master, or at least get familiar with.
Okay, Paweł, thank you very much for this conversation. It was always a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you as always, Andrzej.
And see you soon. Thanks. Bye.